in another quest for that historic and famous sports prize, Hockey Stanley Cup.
New York, after 54 years, your long wait is over.
It's over! The Detroit Red Wings win the Stanley Cup!
The 1956 series opened in Montreal, in the hockey home of the Canadiens, the Montreal Forum. Ready for action is this Detroit trio that scored 63 goals in league play. Metro Pristay on the left, center Alex Delvecchio, who was the league's 9th highest point getter, and Lorne Ferguson, obtained from Boston in a mid-season deal. And Detroit coach Jimmy Skinner, practically a hockey stranger when he took over the Wings in the fall of '55, now trying for his second straight Stanley Cup. Montreal coach Toe Blake was one of the greatest Canadiens of all time, an NHL star for 13 seasons, but a rookie in NHL coaching ranks. Blake looked to goalie Jock Plante with defenseman Tom Johnson and Jean-Guy Talbot to help make him a Stanley Cup winner in his first season. Tension mounts in the crowded Montreal Forum as the 1956 Stanley Cup final is about to get underway. Centermen are Henri Richard of Montreal, Delvecchio of Detroit, Jack Mellenbacher the referee, Canadien in the dark sweaters. The 1956 Stanley Cup championship play has started. The Canadiens are the favorites, but for the previous 7 years, the National Hockey League had been dominated by Detroit Red Wings, who had finished first in all 7 of those seasons and won the Stanley Cup 4 times. Their payoff men had been Gordie Howe and Ted Lindsay, Red Kelly, a consistent all-star on defense, Bob Goldham, an inspirational leader. For 5 seasons, the league's most feared netminder in playoff action had been Terry Sawchuk, and before him, Harry Lumley. Now the Red Wings face the Montreal Challenge with Howe and Lindsay still leading their attack, Kelly and Goldham still their key defensemen, and a new brilliant rookie, Glenn Hall, in the nets. Montreal had finished first in regular league play, but every hockey fan wondered whether these challenging Canadiens would be able to overcome the defending champion Red Wings in the intense playoff pressure. The first game was high-scoring. Detroit led twice on goals by Delvecchio and Dineen. Montreal twice tied it on goals by Beliveau and Richard. With 8 minutes gone in the second period, it was 2-2, and the slow-motion camera shows the old firm of Lindsay passing to Howe. And Howe, 4 times NHL scoring champion in 5 years, returning it. Lindsay scores from right in. The Detroit power play. Howe across to Ferguson. Delvecchio at the goal mouth scores, and Detroit has a big 4-2 lead. The teams are in the third period. Less than 15 minutes to go. In playoff hockey, a 2-goal lead at this stage is considered almost insurmountable. Red Wings have a great chance to win the opening game on Montreal ice. But here's Curry in the corner. Montreal power on the move. Out to Turner, who passes across to Harvey. Into Curry. His rebound. LeClaire scores, and the Detroit lead is cut to 4-3. Less than 14 minutes to play. Red Wings attacking. Talbot intercepts. Up to Geoffrion. Montreal moving in back to Talbot. Closely checked. Geoffrion with a backhand shot. And that puck bouncing behind Hall means the hockey game is tied at 4-4. That's 2 Montreal goals in only 60 seconds. Canadiens keep right on driving. Geoffrion's shot is stopped by Hall. It's in front of Beliveau, who scores, and the surging Canadiens have scored 3 goals in 2 minutes and 11 seconds to lead 5-4. As time runs out, Montreal goes on to complete one of the most thrilling comebacks in Stanley Cup history. Canadiens continue to hold the puck in the Detroit zone. A nightmarish third period for the Red Wings continues. The Montrealers keep them disorganized. And finally, a puck that has bounced around the Detroit corner for nearly half a minute is passed to Floyd Curry, who is checked out of the play. The puck deflects in front of the net, and Provo gets a clinching goal. Scoring 4 times in the final period, wiping out a 4-2 Detroit lead. Montreal Canadiens win the opening game 6-4. The second game of the Stanley Cup final is underway. The referee is Frank Udvari. A Detroit rush. Rookie Johnny Busick leads the attack. Runs into his own teammate, Bill Deneen, number 17. And Claude Provo returns for Montreal Canadiens. Floyd Curry rides Detroit's Bob Goldham into the boards. Curry is penalized, and his trip to the penalty box gives the Detroit Red Wings the man advantage. But hockey breaks sometimes backfire. Watch this Detroit ganging attack. The Red Wing power play, led by number 10 Del Vecchio. But the puck is cleared. A break for Montreal's Don Marshall, number 22, who goes the length of the ice right in and scores the opening goal. In the second period, Montreal still leading 1-0. Pavlich's shot is stopped by Jacques Plante. On the return rush, Dickie Moore passing to Henri Richard, who scores to give Montreal a 2-0 lead. Rocket Richard chased into a corner by Bob Goldham. A pass right in front to Dickie Moore, but Hall makes the save. A dangerous Montreal attack. 5 men inside the Detroit blue line. A long shot. Another shot and a goal mouth scramble with Beliveau on the doorstep. The puck is centered again and a good save by Hall. But Detroit fails to clear. It's in front again, and Geoffrion scores to make it 3-0 for Montreal. Let's watch that goal in slow motion. The play starts with a shot by Olmsted, who worked his way in front. Beliveau is right on top of Hall, kicks at it when he can't shoot. It's finally cleared to the corner by number 16, Norm Ullman, still not out of danger. Olmsted centers the puck to Geoffrion. He gets away a backhand shot. It's blocked by Hall. Now out again to Turner. His drive is high and bounces into the corner. But here's the persistent Olmsted again. A polo swing sends it accurately out to Geoffrion, who slides it under Hall's outstretched arm to climax the lengthy, crowd-pleasing scoring play. It's now 3-0 for the powerful Canadiens, and they're right back trying to make it 4. But Hall saves on a shot from Dickie Moore. Third period, Ted Lindsay trying to break the shutout for Detroit. A pass over to Norm Ullman, who scores for the Red Wings. That Ullman goal in slow motion as he drives it past Plante. The Red Wings are battling to get back within striking distance. Trailing by 2 goals, it's everybody up, but Plante saves from Ted Lindsay. Detroit maintains the pressure. Plante stops a shot from the potent stick of Gordie Howe and blocks another from rookie Norm Ullman. And the Montrealers gain possession. It's out to Bert Olmsted, number 15, who drives into the corner. Feeds a perfect pass to Jean Beliveau, who scores to run the count to 4-1. Only the camera can slow down the speedy Canadien, showing that Beliveau goal in slow motion, one of 12 goals he scored in the playoffs to tie his teammate Maurice Richard for the NHL playoff record. He scored 47 during the regular season in winning the scoring title and leading the league in goals scored. It's now 4-1 and late in the game, but Red Wings aren't through. Plante saves from Howe and blocks Lindsay's rebound. And in the final minute, a Montreal breakaway with the littlest rocket, passing to Moore, out to the biggest rocket, and it's 5-1. This smooth play in slow motion shows Henri Richour sliding the puck to Moore, who goes deep into the corner and then sends a perfect pass to Maurice Richour. And that 5-1 victory gives Montreal a 2-0 lead in the series. The Red Wing fans look with confidence to their powerful line of left to right. Ted Lindsay, Dutch Rival, and Gordie Howe. Rival won the Lady Byng Trophy as the player best combining ability and clean play. Detroit General Manager Jack Adams thought so much of rookie netminder Glenn Hall. In a daring move, he traded the great Terry Sawchuk to Boston, and Hall won the Calder Trophy as the league's top rookie. But Montreal won awards too. Here defenseman Bob Turner on the right talks to Doug Harvey, all-star defenseman for 5 consecutive years, winner of the James Norris Trophy as the league's best defenseman for 55-56. Coach Toe Blake had a strong bench to go with his all-stars. Young Don Marshall on the left, and on the right Ab McDonald, just up from St. Catharines Teepees. So the third game is underway, and after 14 minutes of play, with Montreal shorthanded, Red Kelly of the Red Wings carries the puck out of his own zone, over to Howe. Kelly gets it back, completes a thrilling end-to-end play by driving the puck between Plant's legs to give Detroit the lead. More action in the Montreal zone as the determined Red Wings force the play. Some rough checking between Olmsted and Rival. It breaks out into a fight. There are no knockdowns as they settle for wrestling, and both are penalized after the officials break it up. Playing 5 aside means more room for Beliveau. 6'3", 205 pounds, moving in and drills it home to tie the score. The Beliveau magic in slow motion. The big graceful center shifts his way neatly around Goldem and Pronovo, and with remarkable accuracy, his shot is just inside the post. In the second period, Ted Lindsay, number 7 for Detroit, fails to score. Rocket Richour interferes with Howe, and Richour draws a penalty. Trying to take advantage of it, the potent Gordie Howe, chased to a sharp angle, still forces Plunk to come up with a good save. It's the third period, and the score remains tied. Montreal attacking, but Hall clears. Canadiens trying to hold it in the Detroit zone. Arbor checks Beliveau as the Red Wings pay particular attention to the NHL scoring champion. And Pavelich carries out for Detroit. Up the ice with Lindsay. A shot and a rebound to Lindsay, who scores to give Detroit the lead. That important Detroit goal in slow motion. There's the Pavelich shot, and Lindsay slaps the rebound between Plant's legs. Detroit now leads 2-1 late in the third period, but they led the first game by 2 goals and still lost. Gordie Howe, out of his own zone, sweeps wide, around Harvey, a perfect shot. Detroit wins 3-1 and cuts Montreal's series lead to 2-1. Watch Howe's skillful play in slow motion. Harvey partially blocks him. Howe's low drive just inside the post. Montreal scored 222 goals during the season's 70 games. 7th among NHL point getters was Bernie Boom Boom Geoffrion in the center, who scored 29. On the far right, 4th on the NHL list, Bert Olmsted, whose 56 assists set a new all-time record. And on the left, hockey's man of the year, Jean Beliveau, winner of the Hart Trophy as the player most valuable to his team, winner of the Art Ross Trophy as the league's top point getter, 47 goals and 41 assists, the number 1 all-star center. And in the playoffs, he tied an all-time record. He scored a goal in every playoff game but one. It had been suggested that the daring and acrobatic netminder Jacques Plante would be a Montreal weak spot, but when the season ended, he had won the goaltender's Vezina Trophy with an average of only 1.8 goals scored against him per game. Montreal's power was not confined to the big-name stars. Left to right, Floyd Curry, 32 points. Ken Mosdell, 30. Jackie Leclerc, 14. And Claude Provo, a rookie who scored 3 important playoff goals. Game number 4. Detroit on their own ice, trying to even up the series before it moves back to Montreal. Canadiens are leading 2-1. The jammed Olympia crowd knows this will be the most important game of the series. Because if Red Wings can't stop that Montreal power on Detroit ice, it will be next to impossible to stop it before the rabid Montreal customers. In a close, tough playoff series, one break can mean a hockey game. Rival NHL coaches have learned that to beat Montreal, you must stop their power play. That means defensive specialists. This game's first break goes against the Wings. Metro Pristai, an effective Detroit penalty killer, is hit by a high stick and sidelined for the balance of the series. The ever-dangerous Maurice Richard on the attack, but hit hard by Bob Golden, who was another NHL veteran to retire following this series. Now watch the two players wearing number 16, 20-year-old Henri Richard of Montreal and 20-year-old Norm Ullman of Detroit. They collide and start throwing punches as playoff pressure and rough play combine to shorten young tempers. It's still scoreless, and the first goal means so much in playoff hockey. Here it comes. Canadian Bert Olmsted, number 15 in the corner. Out to the blue line, a drive by Harvey, and Beliveau on the rebound scores to give Montreal a 1-0 lead. Second period, Detroit in trouble. Kelly passes to Reibel, an important save by Plante. Keep your eyes on the right skate of Henri Richard, Montreal's number 16. How would you call this one? As the Rocket misses, a rebound, and Dickie Moore bats it past Hall. But referee Jack Mellenbacher disallows the goal. The Montrealers protest in force. That action in slow motion. Maurice Richard around Bob Goldham. A good shot, but Hall saves. Canadiens still on the doorstep. Henri Richard and Moore in close. But the goal is disallowed. The referee ruling Henri Richard's right skate was in the goal crease. Well, what do you think? The controversial decision did not affect the outcome. Montreal's hard-shooting Bernie Geoffrion leads the rush. A shot by Olmsted, and on the rebound, Beliveau gets the most important goal of the series as it sends Canadiens into a commanding 2-0 lead. From here on, it's a story of a new hockey champion being crowned. Some hockey strategists say you should stick to defensive hockey in the playoffs, but not Canadiens, even when they're in the lead. Continuing the attack in the third period, Claude Provo to Curry, and his goal makes it 3-0. Slow motion shows how Provo passes neatly around Bob Goldham, and Curry scores just before being checked heavily by Gordie Howe. A check that was certainly not too little, but decidedly too late. Anytime a hockey team wins a game, particularly a playoff game on the opponent's ice, it's a major accomplishment. To win by a shutout is remarkable. Final score, Montreal 3, Detroit 0. Puck is faced. Montreal just one game away from the prize Stanley Cup. The defending champion Detroit Red Wings facing elimination. One of the game's fiercest competitors, Ted Lindsay, a Detroit spark plug for the past 12 seasons, gets a good shot on Plante. And at the other end of the ice, Maurice Richard to Harvey, and Hall turns it aside. Two rockets are better than one. The Richard brother rack, pocket rocket to brother rocket, and the save by Hall. Playoff pressure is greatest on the netminders, even when they're sitting down on the job. This second period save by Plante may have changed the course of this hockey game, as Ted Lindsay has an excellent scoring chance, a hard shot, but Plante's save maintains the scoreless deadlock. Another important play that turned the hockey tide. A rush by Turner. Richard pulled down by Pronovo, who gets a penalty. This is what Montreal, players and fans alike, has been waiting for. The five-strong force of their power play. Harvey to Curry to Beliveau, who scores his 12th playoff goal. See it in slow motion. Curry's perfect pass, Belivau's perfect shot. Montreal has that first goal, but Detroit's cause is still not lost, and Hall saves off Geoffrion. Canadian driving for the clincher. Pronovo still in the penalty box. 5 Montrealers close in. A backhand shot by Geoffrion. Hall saves that one, but it's still not cleared. A scramble for the puck. Richard and Beliveau both in front. The Rocket gains control, gets a shot, and scores another power play goal. It's the third period now. Montreal less than 20 minutes away from the world's title. Beliveau attacking with Geoffrion, who scores on the rebound, and now it's 3-0. But there's no such word as quit in the hard-driving play of the National Hockey League. Detroit's number 10, Alex Delvecchio, with a powerful burst of speed in to score for the Red Wings. In slow motion, watch Delvecchio's bullet shot as it sails in, just missing the outstretched glove of Jacques Plante. Even with a 3-1 lead and the Stanley Cup minutes away, the Montreal Canadiens continue to attack right to the final seconds of the 1955-56 season. Gordie Howe drives in for the desperate Wings, and Plante saves. Red Wings, their title slipping away, still fighting. Ted Lindsay gets a Detroit breakaway, but again is stopped by Jacques Plante. 3 seconds to go. The final play of the 1956 Stanley Cup Championship. Montreal Canadiens are the hockey champions of the world. The players from 2 of the finest teams in history shake hands. For Montreal, the season ends in jubilation. But 1955-56 provided 225 games of the finest in sports excitement in Detroit, Toronto, Boston, Chicago, and New York, as well as in Montreal. So ends the 1956 Hockey Stanley Cup.